Hi everyone, this is Menz here. I'm on a test server, the new motion physics, and just going to be kind of going over the basics of what's changing. Essentially, it's not as big of a change as, say, War Thunder's motion physics, where it feels like you're basically driving on ice the entire time, no matter what kind of ground or tank you're in. It's just a slight little change that I feel is going to add a little bit more depth to the game. As you see, a T-44, it doesn't look too much different as far as the turning, except for there's a little bit of lag on this server, so that's why it's jumping around a little bit. But this feels more responsive, and as far as stopping goes, you're not going to stop as fast as you would before. Essentially, if you hit the brakes on any kind of tank, you come to almost a dead stop very quickly. In this case, you slide a bit, and as far as peeking out and switching directions really quickly, as you see, you kind of slip there, and it does change the flow of the game a lot, because if you're peeking out of places and trying to basically peek a boom around a corner, then you're going to be slipping a lot more than usual, and that'll leave you vulnerable for another second or two while you're out in the open. And then as far as turning, saying going in reverse, you do slip a lot more. And the main change in regard of motion physics is you're able to get in new areas that you weren't able to before. Now, you're not going to be able to climb all the way up here, but as you see, the tank doesn't hit a visible wall, and you kind of slide off of things more realistically. And it's a nice little change, because before it was difficult getting up here, say in a T-44, but now you're able to drive over more terrain differences than before. It's going to be a huge change. And then I'm testing, so I don't really care about the main battle. Let's just get a little speed up here, and there's a handbrake now. It's tied to the space bar, so I'm holding forward. I'm gonna turn right here, and hitting the brake, you're able to turn around a lot faster than usual, and also stop faster. So it is a nice little change that is gonna make driving around a little bit more intuitive and more difficult for some people, but it's very rewarding if you kind of get the whole handbrake thing and you're able to pull off very sharp turns more so than usual. Before, some tanks with very poor hull traverse rates, you weren't able to actually turn around a lot of corners because you were just tied to whatever your tank's stat is. While those stats still do matter, they're a little less important now with the handbrake, because you're able to get around that with this new motion physics. Now, as far as the handbrake goes, I don't feel like it needs a noise or indicator as far as when you're using it, because you're pressing a button to do it. Now, it would be nice to have different noises as far as when you're moving around, because there is a lot more slipping and sliding as far as when you are going forward and then you try to go backwards, and your tracks kind of lose their grip for a few seconds when you're trying to switch directions. It would be nice if they kind of improve the sound effects a bit, because they're trying to make it a little bit more realistic with these physics, but the sounds still are not really conveying that difference. But as far as the change goes, it's not drastic as you might think it would be, but it's enough to where it is going to add a pretty significant change to how World of Tanks is played, because it's going to be less arcade and a little bit more dependent on whether or not you're good at driving. It's not going to be as important as War Thunder, where, say, if you run into a small little sandbag wall, your tank might flip over, or not flip over, but knock out the crew, and basically it's not that realistic, but it is going to change things. Ooh, crap. I'm probably going to die here. But basically, it's a nice little addition, and to me, it feels right. It's not, as far as, it doesn't feel like you're in a go-kart. It feels more like you have a bit of weight behind you, and not like the little go-kart feel or small car feel that War Thunder has. And it does change as far as the weight of your tank, and basically light tanks will feel a little bit different than mediums and heavies, and it will be interesting to see when this gets released, if it's going to stay like this or if they're going to change it a little bit more. But it definitely adds a little bit more depth to the game than it is currently, because the main importance that most people are going to notice is, when I was pointing out, when you're peeking around corners, you're going forward, and then when you hit reverse, you don't automatically stop and start moving backwards. You kind of slip for a second, and that 1 second is a huge difference than what we currently have. This guy just jumped off of a cliff, but whatever. It's just a test server. Alright, say let's hop into slightly different tank here. I think I wanted to try out the ELC AMX. And it seems like everybody else is trying to try out this tank. Now, as far as different surfaces go, what they plan on doing, as far as I know, is right now every tank has a terrain resistant modifier for soft, hard, and moderate ground. I believe that they're going to be changing that to basically, instead of each tank having a set parameter, it's going to be tied to the specific ground surface now, and it's going to be more important what type of ground you're driving on and less about what specific stat your tank has. I don't know if they're going to completely get rid of that stat, but I know, at least as far as what I've seen, they are going to be making that stat a little less important, because a lot of tanks that might seem fast with their weight and engine strength, that they might seem like they're supposed to go fast, but once you get into their terrain resistant values, it makes them turn very slow. I'm going to hit the handbrake here just to kind of show you. You weren't able to do that before in an AMX. You had to really take a longer route, and turning now is a lot easier, and it's going to make the game very fun. Now, the downside is heavy tanks can also do this, and tank destroyers, so if you're trying to circle somebody, they're going to be able to do the same to you. Oh crap. I'm still not used to having to hit the spacebar, but say people just blow right by you now. Now you can hit the spacebar for the handbrake and turn right around them and basically flip your tank around a lot faster than usual. Let's see if I can get this guy out. Now, you can flip tanks now, which I'm going to try to do here. And as far as flipping tanks goes, you can flip over and you get a... never mind. I actually landed upwards. Yeah. As far as dropping off the hill, you're not able to do that in the current game without dying right now. It seems like they lowered damage from falling. However, if you do fall off of a hill and land on your roof now, you get a warning, much like if you're submerged in water currently, and if you do not flip over in that amount of time, then your tank blows up. So while it isn't easy to flip tanks over as far as ramming them, you do notice if you fall off of a hill sideways, or if you're going straight ahead. If you're going straight ahead off of a large cliff, you can flip over, but it's mainly if you're going off of a cliff sideways, and you can tip very easily that way. But overall, as far as the falling and flipping over goes, it does feel, as you see when I fell off of that cliff there, it does feel a little fake because the tanks don't have a lot of weight to them once they get off of the ground. It would be nice if they kind of fix that problem, because falling off that cliff, it felt like I was essentially a balloon, and they need to work on that a little bit. But the overall feel of driving, however, I do feel is done well, and the handbrake is also a nice addition. It's just the flipping over, and when you're airborne, falling off of cliffs and such, it does seem like they need a little bit of work there as far as, I guess, the gravity parameter goes. So we tested out a medium and now a light tank, and let's just go to a heavier tank now with the KV-1. I'm not going to go straight forward because I have a feeling that everybody's going to just kind of rush out there because it's just testing. And one little change that is with physics is, well, first of all, the tracks look a lot better, but going over small obstacles like road tracks and just little bumps, it doesn't slow you down as much now, which is a nice addition, because a lot of the time you will be going across a railroad track and you'll lose 10, 20 kilometers an hour off your speed for no reason. Now, just applying the handbrake here, as you see with a heavy tank, you're not really able to turn as much as you would in a light or medium, which is nice. The handbrake I find for heavy tanks like the KV-1 that aren't exactly quick is more so to stop you a little bit better and give you a little boost as far as turning, but you're still not going to turn a lot compared to other tanks using the handbrake. As you see here, I'm hitting it, and it does help a little bit, but it's not as drastic as the light and mediums, which still helps out because it wouldn't be very fair if heavy tanks could just slam on the handbrake and basically negate you trying to circle around them. I guess showing you a KV-1 stopping now, it does take longer to stop, as you see, and you have that little bit of a slip when you start to head backwards, which is nice because, well, I do get that World of Tanks isn't a simulator, which I like that it's not like that. It's very fun playing an arcade setting. It is nice having a little feature where your tank doesn't just instantly stop on a dime, because now you're going to have to take into account that you might slip for a half a second or something, depending on the type of terrain you're on. Yeah, it doesn't look like my team's going to win this, but I wasn't exactly trying to do well. Let's see if we can get this guy out. It's a little harder to hit things on here for me because I'm used to playing with a lower ping, and leading targets is definitely off a lot, since I highly doubt this test server is located in the US. Okay, that kind of hurt a little bit. Now, I was trying to move back, but starting from a stop is a lot harder now, and unfortunately, I was not able to move back as fast as I would like to. Okay. And hitting the handbrake when you're going slow does still help you with turning around faster. Okay, here's a KD1. Let's see if this other guy decides to pop out here. Yeah, there he is. Although a lot of other people see me. I'm not using gold because I really don't care. But while the change in motion physics isn't huge, it's still going to be enough, in my opinion, to rub some people the wrong way, or in my case, make them a little happier, because it definitely adds another layer and element to the game and playing, because you have to factor in now that your tank may slip a little bit, slide a little here, and as far as the handbrake goes, it allows you to turn around a lot better, and also either get but as far as it goes, I hope they don't change the level of motion physics as far as the driving goes a lot, because I do feel like it's at a very good level. But at the same time, as I was pointing out when I was on Himmelsdorf, as far as falling off of things and flipping over, it does feel a little wonky, and it just feels like you're kind of weightless when you're falling off of a cliff and flipping over. I think tanks need a little bit more weight or gravity or whatever in that sense. Shit, I accidentally hit the spacebar there. But as far as drifting now, you can definitely drift a bit, which I didn't hit the spacebar there. Oh god. But I am gonna try to turn around here. It does provide a different... Oh crap, I completely missed him. But to me, it is fun in light tanks, and you don't need to tap space to turn. As far as not hitting space, it's very similar as before, but adding in the additional handbrake does make things a little different and provide you basically more depth to the game, because you might be able to pass someone like I did there, tap on space, turn around sharply and get a shot off. But it will be interesting to see how they go about implementing this. But to me, they have a nice medium here between what World of Tanks is now and, say, a level of War Thunder, because War Thunder is completely ridiculous and it's not fun playing with their physics as far as I'm concerned. For the tank section, planes, War Thunder's fine, but tanks, not so well. And yeah, it'll just be nice to see. I don't think it's coming anytime soon. I believe it's going to be another like 2 patches before they introduce motion physics, but it'll definitely be very interesting to see, and in my opinion, good for the game in general. So anyway, thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel to keep up to date with new videos I put out, and check out my website, wotguru.com.